Hello everyone, this is Trollforce with Amnesia, the Bunker Explained. In this video, we're going to cover all you need to know about the bunker. Now let's get into this video. The game begins with another quote, as per tradition for fictional games since Amnesia Mission for Pigs was released. We are thrust into the action with Henry Clement, a French soldier on the Western Front in World War I. He's taking cover in the trenches from German troops while a voice calls to him to follow the trench. The game sets the mood right away, with this section of the game serving as a tutorial for the player to get acquainted with the gun, grenades, and healing. At one section of the trench, Henry gets ambushed by a platoon of German soldiers who begin firing at him. It doesn't matter how good or bad of a shot you are, Henry's friend, Augusto and Lambert, will come and fend him off, telling Henry to continue. After getting to the other side of the trench, Henry gets trapped in a trench filled with mustard gas. The Germans have him trapped here, and before Henry loses consciousness, Lambert comes to the rescue again with a gas mask as he and Henry make it back to safety together.
Get this up fast, fast! No time on me. We'll make it out of this hell together. Now follow me. We're nearly there. Beat that roll, my friend.
There you have it, huh?
Ah, fate's a bastard. I'm on patrol tonight, then. C'est la vie.
We get a brief flashback of Henry and the soldiers playing a game. Henry makes a boisterous win against Lambert and announces as his turn for patrol. We then head over to a no man's land as Henry is slowly making his way through the battlefields with his gun drawn. He follows the smoke ahead until he reaches a large crater above ground where he spots his friend Lambert. He climbs down and gives him water to drink from a nearby source.
Here, drink this. Then I'm going to get you out of here.
I couldn't move. My leg. Too weak.
I'll get you back to safety. Just hold on to me.
After Henry picks him up, we are given control again. If we immediately turn around, we can see a little bit of the inside of the crater. We can see strange looking rock formations at the water source. Keep this place in mind, as it will be important later. As Henry and Augusta make their way back to the bunker, they get spotted by German troops who begin firing at them. They both get hit by a blast from the Germans, and Augusto is seemingly knocked unconscious and his screen fades to black. We get this message before the game begins, as Henry wakes up in a daze hearing many screams from the soldiers, and he gets up finding himself back in safety at the bunker, in the sick room. The first note we get is about Henry's amnesia he gets from the head trauma from the blast, and later we find out what else had happened. The first diary page we pick up also has some thoughts.
9th of July, 1700 hours. I'm in a state of agony. It cripples my body, captures my mind, bleeds my soul. This thing I've done, this thing. It is lunch in the mess hall currently. Oh, the thought of eating repulses me.
In the next room, we find a photo of Sergeant Renard with a autopsy report on the desk. We then move on to the mess hall and are met by a fellow soldier.
Someone there? Oui. Thought I was the last one. We're trapped down here. The rat fucking officers ran and blew the exit behind them. You want to escape? You need to blow it back open. There's dynamite in the arsenal. And a handle to trigger it somewhere in the excavation site. Get them, and you can make it out. Shit. That thing, it's coming for me. Here, take this. Finish me off, please. I want to die at the hands of a brother soldier, not that monster. There's ammo in the pantry. Get it. Do the job, please.
He's the one who gives us the gun at the start of the game, and makes a last request before this happens. He will die no matter what you do. We are greeted by the presence of the Stalker, the beast that dwells within the walls of the bunker. Afterwards, the power shuts off and we head inside the admin room, the safe room of the bunker. We get notes about dog tag codes on the desk. Next to the phonograph, we get a tutorial about rats and corpses. Downstairs, we get notes about the generator. We get the dog tag to leave the admin room next to the corpse. Then another note about generator fuel next to the oil depot. In order to progress, we need the wheel to lift the lockdown.
Ninth of July. I do not know the time, but dusk has fallen, and still, of course, no word. When I asked the sergeant, he shrugged, as if I was asking about when it might next rain. And these fools around me, laughing, drinking, arguing. Do they know what I've done? Do they suspect it? I feel they must all be guilty of something. And yet, they laugh, drink, argue. God knows what I've done. I wonder if his judgment could be worse than my own.
The first note we find in Jabert's room tells us our next objective. The next note is about the tension rising in the bunker due to the stalker's presence. In the same room, we get a photo of claw marks. In the central room, we get our first mention of the Roman tunnels we will encounter later, with a photo of the tunnels next to it. The note in the drawer talks about a prisoner that we will meet later. Inside the corner room, we get another update of the Roman tunnels with LaRue's report. We can find Elise's dog tag next to his corpse, and we can see how crippled in fear some of the soldiers are from the stalker, with the drawings in their room. In Fournier's room, we can find a photo of Tremblay's death and a note about the cautions of shooting the beast. Another note on the arsenal can be found here too. With Delisa's code, we unlock the locker to get the wheel and lift the lock down. We could find more notes in Reynard's room, but the rest will come back for later. Down in the map room with the barracks, we can find a photo of the barracks and a note detailing more about what happened on the night with Henry and Lambert. We can find one of the many notes from Noyers here detailing his sightings in the Roman tunnels, as well as our first mention of Tucson. Speaking of, we can get one of his entries as well. More notes about the tunnels can be found here. Noyer's locked entry details more about the effects that tunnels have on the bunker. We can find Henry's bunk with his dog tag and journal entry he made the night before he went back looking for Gaston.
9th of July, night. My conscience compels me now, as it failed to compel me then. I must do something, even if it costs me my own life. I must do something lest I never sleep again. I must do something or risk greeting hell itself as a relief. I must do something. I go.
Across the bunk, we can find a photo of Lambert and his family. The new version of the game has altered the photos I will find. You'll see what I mean when I compare the two. In the dark room, we can find a photo of a place of interest. You can find a note reminding you of the communications key if you haven't found it already. A photo of the electrical grid can be found. After gaining entry and powering the comms room, we get their arsenal code.
To anyone left, the code is 4840.
Once we break into the map room of the arsenal, we can find a photo of the box cutters. Our next objective is to get the dynamite in here. Also, once we grab Henry's code from the barracks, we can go to his locker and read the entry he wrote before the events of the game, as well as a photo of him and Lambert.
July, mid-afternoon. Joubert needs a scout for tonight. Routine patrol. Out to the communication wires and back. It'll be cloudy. Good cover. Easiest patrol possible. Sergeant wants me or Augustin to go. He still suspects one of us might have been with the mutineers. But I won't be going. How can I be so sure? Well, Augustin has agreed to a friendly game of chance to determine which of us it will be. And using an old sleight of hand trick, there's no way I'll lose. No, Augustin doesn't have a chance because I'll ensure he doesn't. Me? A scoundrel? Perhaps. But when he returns and I remind him of the time he pissed in my flask, or the mysterious lice that appeared in my bunk, or the incident with that barmaid, well, I laughed in those cases, and he'll laugh in this one. 8th of July, near midnight. Shelling again somewhere along the line. Them firing at us. I'm sure we will fire at them again soon. I hope Augustin's having a simply marvelous time out there. Can't wait to tell him what I did. 9th of July, time unknown. It must be just before dawn. When the shelling stopped, I woke. The sudden silence always does that. Augustin's bunk is empty. I went looking for him. He wasn't in the mess, nor being seen by Dr. Jasinski, nor lurking out for a final smoke. Dax was on patrol. I asked him. He said Augustin hasn't returned from the scout. He said the words like he was pronouncing Augustin's death. As if scouts don't come running back at all hours. As if it wasn't just a routine patrol. As if all hope was lost. Now the shelling is starting again. We'll try to sleep. 9th of July, morning. It has been hours now and Augustin has not returned. His luck did not hold. And neither has mine. What could I have been thinking? If he is gone forever... But I do not want to write it, for fear writing it will make it real. I will continue to wait in my bunk until dusk. And if there is no sign of him, then I do not know. The priest keeps staring at me, as if he can sense I have some unseen weight on me. I will not give him the satisfaction of a confession. It was nothing, a joke. I thought it was just a joke. I never thought. And therein lies my sin.
We now have the dynamite. We can find other notes from Fournier about the wine storage. In the map room, we can find notes about the rats and a photo of bodies being burned. In Stafford's notes, we can find our next objective. We need to get into the pillbox. We also find a photo of him making Molotovs. There will always be rats eating cheese in this room. We can find a note near the hole here. The pillbox key is in the chapel, our next stop. Alternatively, you can blow up the side of the wall to get into the pillbox, but it's very risky. The note inside the storage room makes the first real mention of the stalker's face. We now entered the chapel, the nest of the beast that roams the bunker. Bodies of multiple soldiers decorate the room. We can find Lambert's first journal entry here as well, telling the events in his perspective.
11th of July 1916. Dusk. I sit now at the bedside of my dear friend Henri Clément. The doctor has left, but I remain. I feel I must record the extraordinary twists of fate and fortune that have led me to be here. Breathing, alive, strong and well, while Henri lies unconscious, fighting for his life. It starts days ago, on a night patrol. I fell into some kind of pit. I was injured, unable to move, unable to escape. By all rights, it should have been my tomb. I cried for help, screamed myself hoarse. The effort left me parched, exhausted, and still alone. As the next night fell, as I cried what might have been my last cry for help, I could see the stars high above, beautiful, indifferent. And then Clément's face appeared at the top of the pit. He lowered himself to me, found a trickle of spring water there, and had me drink from it. It was cool and crisp, with a strange, sweet taste. Never has water felt more nourishing than that. Administered by a dear friend's hand. I was saved. But of course, that is not the last twist fate's blade would stab into my back. 11th of July 1916. Night. Later now, I continue my tale. As Clément carried me across no man's land, fate struck again. A German outpost spotted us. Gunfire, explosions, desperation. And as the air cleared, I pulled myself to my feet and saw that Henri was wounded, blood pouring from his head, his eyes glassy. He was fading. I do not know where I found the strength to carry him, but carry him I did, all the way back to our bunker. 12th July, 1916. Morning. Woke this morning and realized that a toy I purchased for my son is gone. I promised him I'd bring him something home from the front, so I brought him a stuffed rabbit from a local shop. A rabbit because he thinks he's so fast. It must have fallen from my pack when I fell into the crater. The thought of that stuffed rabbit lying in that crater, rain and weather matting its fur, unloved, forgotten, totally alone, lost forever. It fills me with profound hopelessness. 12th July 1916. Afternoon. Spoke to the doctor. He told me Henri woke in the night and had no recollection of the events in the crater. Indeed, he seemed even confused as to where he was. Aside from this disturbing news, I'm feeling rather good. Stronger and stronger. As if the whole ordeal has filled both my body and soul with new purpose.
So apparently, Lambert didn't die from the explosion from before, and he's supposedly alive and well. But the question is, where is he? Speaking of, after picking up the pillbox key, the stalker will spawn and enter the chapel looking for us. This will happen in every playthrough. Once we climb up the pillbox, we can discover that escape is within our reach. But before anything can be done, war is still raging and German troops are still firing at the French bunker. And thus, we'll react to movements in the pillbox, so be careful here. Stafford was unfortunately not so careful, and we claimed his dog tag. As mentioned before in an earlier video, Golf Traverse is a reference to Mary Poppins. This is one of two ways to acquire the shotgun. We now have the wrench. If you haven't already by some chance, there's some more notes and photos to find before we head to the prison. After obtaining the wrench, we can go back to the barracks and find other notes. The note further explains their plot to seal the entrance. Past the grates in the downstairs mess hall, we can find a photo of the perimeter of the Roman tunnels that we will explore soon. Now we enter the prison. Our objective here is to get the bolt cutters, so we can access the tunnels. To do so, we need to get into the cell of the German captive.
Hallo? Ist jemand da?
Here's a note of the wrench location if you haven't gotten it by now. We can find other notes about the prisoner in the control room. photo can be found in the excavation of the tunnels. If you're quick enough, you can open the prisoner's cell, grab the bolt cutters, and leave and close the cell without him getting killed. More notes from Fournier can be found in the map room. Back in the hub area with the locked cabinet, we can find notes from Raynor as well. Back in the hub area with the locked cabinet, we can find notes from Raynor as well as foreshadowing for Toussaint. And back in the wine storage, we can find out what happened to Neuer. And the other notes, now we know everything else about the sabotage. Our last stop is the Roman tunnels now. After cutting the chain and draining the flood, we press on to the last save room area. The stalker will not follow you here. We can find Toussaint's ramblings down here along with his eyes on the table. The last photo is also here. We get Joubert's final notes here too, and as well as the first mention of the arena. Looking through the hole in the wall, we finally found the detonator handle. As we make our way through the tunnels, we can find strange black rocks dotted around the walls. Given the lore that we know, I think this is where the portals from the Dark World have opened up. Making our way deeper through the tunnels, we hear Toussaint.
We were the world, we were. It all gets lost.
He's still alive, and we're trapped down here with him. The tunnels below are blanketed in a thick fog, and several ghosts and facades of men and creatures alike are roaming the halls. It's unclear why this fog is here. However, Toussaint begins this hunt for us. Using the gas mask would nullify the visions, but it would make it harder to avoid detection from Toussaint, so it's best to keep your head low. After you kill him, you can get a shotgun if you haven't already. We have finally attained the detonator handle and we can return to the bunker. Except, we won't be doing that. If you look over at the end of the room, you can find a hole in the wall. We clear a passage and crawl through, and what do we find at the end but the crater from the start of the game? The first thing we notice is the pool of black water ahead of us, along with the black humming rocks. If you play the Rebirth, you know what this is. This water is from the Fountain of Tihana. Any who drink from it are under her influence and transformations follow. So, if we piece this together, Henry has saved his friend by unknowingly feeding him the cursed water. Speaking of, we see a shimmer catch our eye, and it's Lambert's dog tag, and his stuffed rabbit that he wanted to give to his son. We take these items and head back to the bunker. Alternatively, you can pick up the detonator handle and escape without killing Toussaint, but it takes some skill. We can also find a statue wielding an orb at the end of the hall. We equip the detonator with a handle and blow up the entrance. Quite literally too, as we don't blow it open. Instead, it's sealed shut permanently from the blast and rubble. However, the blast has opened up another entrance on the ground below. Before we go down there, we need to open the last locker. Also, when Stalker comes back, you can send him away by throwing a rabbit at him. He looks at it intently and takes off with it. If we follow it back to the chapel, we can find the rabbit on the table. Very odd behavior from the stalker. What could this mean? Once we get back to Lambert's locker, we have our answer.
July 1916. Up again. In the chapel. Trying to pray, but my mind is too alive with thoughts of the crater. The rabbit. And that water. Its taste. And yet I don't feel tired. Instead I feel this itch. This sense that there are things I must do. Purpose. A bloody purpose higher than any of man's petty wars. 13th July 1916. Morning. Everyone's talking about hearing scratching at the walls. Tremblay even claims to have heard howls echoing through the barracks. I feel strange myself. Can barely find the words to write. My hands feel so odd. Gnarled. Bulbous. Like they don't belong to me. I hesitate to write this, but a thought keeps echoing in my head. A thought I must not act on. A bloody thought so seductive. It calls. It calls. It calls. 15th July 1916. Madness in the barracks this morning. Renard's dead. They say murder but will not show us the body. A dream rises in my mind. Countless cruel eyes upon me. Must check on Henri. Wish he would wake. Could use a friend. My prayers remain unanswered. 18th July 1916. Blood on my hands. Blood on my hands. Blood on my hands. Their pain. I want more of it. I can hear Tremblay now. Coming closer. 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 I can get what I want from him.
So it turns out that the stalker is indeed Augustin Lambert, horrifically transformed and driven by their ferocious hunger, and who has slaughtered everyone in the bunker. Everyone except Henry and Toussaint, but it's just us now. We make our way down to the newly opened tunnel, and while we make our way through, we see flashes of light up ahead, and we breach into the arena. This place bears a striking resemblance to the chancel in the Dark Descent. It is here where we make our final stand against the beast. If you fall into the pit below, we get a surprise encounter from the Shadow. I'm not sure why the Shadow makes an appearance here other than just fan service. The pit below looks like a portal forming with the swirling clouds. While the tremors in the arena are going on, we press forward to the exit, but before we can get close, the beast breaks through and begins his last hunt for us. We only have two choices here: to pump the monster full of lead and shrapnel to buy us time to climb over the brick wall, or distract it with the rabbit again. But if you use some cleverness, you can lure him to a bridge and blow it up, sending him falling into the pit below. Doing this will make the tremors more violent and start to cause a cave into the arena. A boulder falls and destroys a brick wall when we make our escape out of the cave. Henry tumbles down into the water and finds himself surrounded by corpses. Before any action can be made, a battalion of German soldiers discover him, and his fate remains unknown. Both of the endings will play out the same, except if the beast follows you out of the cave. So that was Amnesia the Bunker, the latest entry in the Amnesia franchise by Frictional Games. It's another one of my favorites from them. It's a shorter game than The Dark Descent and Rebirth, but it's a welcome change in the narrative. With endless possibilities and replayability. I cannot recommend this game enough, and with that, I hope you all enjoyed this full breakdown of the game. I left out several smaller details and other things to talk about because it's best to discover those for yourself while playing. And every playthrough is randomized. Also, this game uses many assets from Rebirth, so it wasn't necessary covering those. And there's other lore implications that will be covered further in Amnesia Rebirth Explained. Sorry this video took a while to come out. It was a massive project, and it took some care and patience to put together. And with that said, this is Trollforce, and I'll see y'all next time. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.